As I promised, I'd give some insight about the intricacies of multidimensional compassion. This is a bit tricky for some to understand, as it involves more than the commonly known form of compassion. It's rather more a form of understanding and acceptance of a higher way of seeing things. I'll explain. A very short and down-to-earth way of explaining this, it's a combination of logic and emotion, completely unlike the usual known compassion, which involves feeling a sense of sympathy and or internal concern for another, with the wish to inhibit any vexations. This is, as it sounds, not wrong. But there come many occasions where boundless compassion can be actually a problem. In the term of multidimensional compassion is also known as Christ consciousness, as many may understand this as being compassion in its highest form. They are correct as much as it concerns the unlimited universal love. However, the higher compassion also has a certain little thingy to it that is a great deal different to the compassion that is usually expressed. Many may possibly not understand or accept this certain aspect. It concerns allowing others to feel pain, and that experience is part of that person's necessary life experiences. Now this is the part where it becomes very complicated indeed. The question would be, how do I know when a person should be experiencing that pain? It all has to do with the soul blueprint. Before birth, the soul constructs a blueprint for its next life experiences, for which there will also be soul contracts with other souls that will assist in achieving the wanted experiences. Many such experiences will be of negative manifestation, and as such will bring physical and emotional pain. And it will be necessary to understand the lesson that the situation is bringing forth in order to be freed from that pain. When such a pain is improperly turned off by a person or soul with no soul contract with the other soul, and who was just being compassionate or wanting to help, takes the effect of the learning process away from the other who was feeling that pain in order to learn a particular lesson. In other words, regardless of how it may sound, this type of compassion is called interfering in the soul learning process and is therefore also called idiot compassion. Yes, that does sound very inhumane, doesn't it? But that's just the point. It's the principle of multidimensional universal thinking. It allows for the soul to learn what lessons it had chosen to learn, and the compassion is in reality to allow the soul its learning experiences. That is universal love. To take the experience away from the soul before the soul has understood the lesson makes it necessary to repeat the experience until the wanted soul lesson is learned. Allowing for the lesson, for allowing a soul to experience what it had wanted to learn, regardless of how horrible that experience may be, and to feel love for that soul without interference, is what actual Christ consciousness is. And the answer to the question, when is it correct to intervene in such situations? Never. Not without intervention being part of your soul contract with the other person. How do I know I have a soul contract with that person? Well, often it's an intuition. But if you're not sure, ask your higher self. If you don't know how to ask your higher self, then just do the same as with these videos that get posted here. Present assistance in form of information for that person to perceive when wanted. It's the only way of helping without making a mistake. Often people are stuck in a role of continuously needing to help others, regardless of whether or not that help is really needed or wanted, which is commonly termed as caretaking. This is not implicitly part of the soul contract. It may, in most cases, be either a karma situation or produced by the ego, with the intent to be useful at the cost of gaining attention and recognition. Usually a person will be guided by their higher self, soul, oversoul, or spiritual guides who are from a higher realm, who will lead a person to help others. But if you're not sure, then rely on your feeling. Often it's hard not to help physically when observing the pain of others, especially those one loves. But if your physical help is not in unison with the soul intent, then it could just make things worse. The counter reaction is often vicious behavior of the other soul or person. or pain or fatigue with one's own body as a direct result of caretaking. This tends to drain one's own energy notably, and as such is commonly referred to as giving your power away. This also happens when one reacts, or rather overreacts, to a situation where it's obvious just how silly it is to waste your energy complaining, arguing, or crying over spilled milk. If you need to do some emotional clearing, then cuss away to your heart's content. But do not waste your energy on things you cannot change or have nothing to do with your life in any way. It's very important to learn how to react in any given situation, since the normal education will not give you the insight you need in order to understand. You must practically relearn human behavior, because the usual behavior patterns of human societies are based on primeval ego and fear-based, self-gratifying, dysfunctional motives. The only system of thinking that will correctly function is that of multidimensional thinking, which plainly means every decision, action, must be considered with both logic and emotional discernment. This is the law of the universal fundament. Any other action or thought is without fundamental stability and will result in eventual chaos. Christ consciousness, multidimensional compassion, is therefore universal unconditional love garnished with logic. This way of thinking has been the basis for universal action since its beginning, because the universe had been constructed on exactly those principles. It's easiest to understand when comparing the paths of those on the enlightened trail, as each will mean to have found the path most suited for themselves. They will realize in the end that their path had not really been much different than the path of others, as the result will inevitably be the same. As you will hopefully discover, the end result is always the own soul evolution. And as such, each soul will find a path most suited for themselves, but will still be going in the same direction as all others. For there is only one direction, which is the universal thinking, multidimensional thinking, Christ consciousness. It is the integrational thinking combined negative and positive. It is also to be realized that soul evolution never ceases. The usual scale of evolution continues to the 12th level dimensional plane. At this moment, we on this earth are within the 3rd dimensional plane, and the general idea was for all earth souls to evolve, ascend to the 5th dimensional plane. There is also the possibility of a 4th dimensional evolution, which will be manifest at the time of the Ascension 2012. Although the average evolutionary process takes estimatedly about 40 billion years, from the first day after soul birth to the first day within the 12th dimension, the evolution of one's soul does not end with that accomplishment. It continues relentlessly forever, only on another scale than before, since the 12th dimension only represents equality to God's own level of being. But that doesn't mean you will stop learning. One could call it relentless evolution. It can only get better, since once you gain wisdom that will help you evolve, there is no turning back. You cannot return to wherever you came. You can only go forward. Once you understand a certain aspect of multidimensional thinking, the rest of your learning process will become easier. It's like a snowball effect. The more you understand, the more you can and will understand.